your resources to ensure like a correct materials flow throughout the entire supply chain. And at the same time, in planning, we have three key processes that are located like in different moments or in different stages of the supply chain. And there are demand, production, and supply that we will see next. So the first process is demand planning. Demand planning is like the first step that we have in the supply chain, and is in charge of forecast the future demand the company will have in a short, medium, and long term. Based on the information provided by marketing and commercial areas as historical sales, advertising campaigns like sales events, or critical season, maybe in the events. So based on that, demand planning has to define like the potential or the likely sales that the company will have in a future. Yes. And this information has to be reliable and has to show the reality of the market and the reality of the customer's requirements, because it will be the most important input for the rest of the supply chain and will be the input for the next process, that is production planning. So production planning receives this potential demand plan, receives like the projected sales from the demand planning and transform it into a workable or a restricted plan. Why? Because we can have two possible scenarios. The first one is where our capacity or the plant's capacity isn't enough to cover those projected sales. And a second scenario where the capacity isn't enough to cover those sales. So it's very important for this role to have like a wide knowledge about the production processes, a great understanding of the particularities. And it's important to keep a close contact with the technical team, specifically with production, quality, maintenance, and projections, in order like to have a clear picture of the plant's capacity, of the plant's scheduling, of the plant's conditions, and cross this information with the sales, or with the projected sales, and generate like the final production plan. That is just a plan that specifies what we need to produce, what products we need to produce, in which quantities we need to produce them, and in which period, in order to cover those sales partially or totally, and cover the orders and cover the inventory and server level. And this production planning, as I mentioned before, it generates like the final production plan. That would be the input for the next process, that is supply planning. So supply planning takes this production plan and based on the products received, generates like a materials explosion. I mean, because each product has like a BOM, that is a bill of materials that defines which quantity of materials are required to produce 1 unit of product. But in a nutshell, it's just like the list of products to be manufactured are translated for this area into a list of materials that are required to produce them to make these products, and that's it. And taking this information plus supplier lead times plus inventory policies, it defines like an MRP. An MRP is like a material requirement plan, and it's just a plan that specifies what materials we need, in which quantities we need them, and in what time we need them to arrive at the plant. And that is it. Summarizing, planning is composed by three key processes: demand, production, and supply. Demand like generates like the potential sales the company will have in a future. Production takes these sales and transform it into a workable or restricted plan. And finally, supply take this information and generates a materials requirement plan. And that's it. So we saw how planning is such a value generating process in a company. This plays a very integrating, systematic, strategic role that enables the reliable and valuable information for the whole supply chain and synchronize all the company's areas in order to make decisions that are always aligned with the strategic goals of the company. So that's it. Next time you buy any product, think about all the amazing coordinated work that is behind its manufacturing, and think about all the stages that this had to be, or this had to go through, finally had it in your hands. So that's it. Thank you so much. Maybe any questions?
That was amazing. Thank you very much for your great presentation, Anna. What you said at the end is very valuable. Every time that you buy a product in a store, try to think on all the work that goes behind that product. Just planning everything so that product can be in your hands. I think that all the coordination that has to be in the management of a company and getting the products the right quantity and the right material has to be like a clock. Everything has to be very precise from the moment you're thinking of what you're going to buy until the moment that you send that to the retailer. So it was great to see how everything works inside a company and all the planning that goes under it. Once again, thank you very much for your presentation. That was great. From the students watching from other classes or watching at home, I want you guys to notice the ease with which Anna was able to communicate her ideas. You can see that that is a very specific topic, and she did basically not hesitate, and she was able to fluently communicate her ideas with correct grammar. This is something that you guys will be able to achieve in Upper D. So it is a good exercise to be watching right now. Once again, thank you very much for your great presentation. You will receive a private message in the chat just telling you what your grade is, as well as my specific feedback on your presentation. For now, we're going to continue with the next presentation that is going to be by Sara Arce. So Sara, please get ready, turn your presentation on, turn your camera on, and well, the stage is all yours.
Teacher, I am not able to turn on the camera because the computer I'm using doesn't have camera.
Oh, I see. It's totally understandable. So
Okay.
just share your presentation is fine.
Okay, thank you. Hello, good evening. I'm Sara, and today I'm going to be talking about global warming. I actually chose this topic because I think it's really important to have all of the aspects of this topic in mind. This is a topic that we all have to have knowledge of, and I would like to highlight some parts of it. So first, I would like to talk about the origin of this issue, which aspects or which aspects created this big effect on the Earth. Actually, global warming is the increase of the average temperature on the Earth, and is mainly because of these topics that I'm going to show you. First is energy generation. For the generation of electricity, it is necessary sometimes, most of the times, the fossil fuels burning. Well, not necessary, but it's like the main use that is given to the energy generation, which creates a lot of contamination in the atmosphere, a lot of toxic residual effects. So next, deforestation. Actually, I I don't know if you have ever heard that trees are like the Earth's lungs, because actually trees are the ones who take the carbon of the atmosphere and turn it into oxygen, which is, I would say, one of the most important elements of our existence. And without trees, we couldn't like breathe, or, for example, nature needs oxygen as well, not only animals, but all kind of life that exists in the earth. Transport, actually transport, just as energy generation, requires a big quantity of fossil fuel burning, and it also creates a lot of contamination. As you can see in this picture, you can see that the air seems to be really dense, like it has a lot of residuals gases coming from the cars and all methods of transport. Second, I would like to talk about the consequences of global warming, of our actions. First, higher temperatures. Actually, I read somewhere that 2020 was the hottest year on record. I think we can all notice of this in the actuality. I don't know if you have ever heard that, for example, Manizales used to be a lot colder before. And for example, here, the sun hits harder because of we are closer to the sun, to say it some way, we are higher. So that all affects, because the atmosphere is the one who protects us from sun rays. And because of global warming, it is getting damaged and almost our barrier, and we're destroying it. So second, more intense storms. Not only, like, people used to think that only because of global warming there will be like consequences in the temperature, like it getting hotter, but it can also get colder in some parts. Actually, it is a variation and a really abstract variation of the weather. It can be hotter or colder weather, and this results in more intense and frequent storms, and can destroy homes, communities, and like it has happened a lot of times before. Okay, so species extinction. Actually, this is because the species habitat turns into some kind of danger for species as well. For example, an example of this would be the polar bear, who lives in the ice, and the ice is melting. So it's getting without a home where to live because of the global warming. For example, I wanted to put here a picture of the condor, Andean condor. I actually heard that there are around 63 condors left in the country, in the whole country. And it's actually, this is really concerning because it's one of the most iconic species that we have on our country, and we are losing it. So really sad. Third, best practices. What habits can we change? Like, what things do we do that are not necessary to continue, and that just by a little change we can improve this whole situation. First, save energy. just as I mentioned before, how I was talking before about the energy generation, it is required a lot of fuels and it gives a lot of toxic residuals in the atmosphere. And if we start just using the required, the necessary energy to live, we can like decrease the impact of the atmosphere, of the pollution in the atmosphere. Use of bicycle or public transport. Actually, yeah, I think it's really obvious that to use bicycles is way more way more healthy, or and it's also cheaper. It has a lot of advantages that we can approach, and also by using public transport, we can save a lot of fuel burning, and it can help a lot to the earth and to global warming in general. Recycle and reuse our waste. For example, here in this picture, bottles. I don't know how it works at your homes, but actually on mine, when we try not to buy bottles, but when we do, because sometimes when you're out, you need something to drink. So we save the bottles and we use it again for some days. Of course, we cannot use it way too much because it starts to have also a bacteria and residuals inside of the bottle. So yeah, it's better not to use plastic residuals, or if we do, try to give a good use to it. Okay, conclusions. I think that by this presentation, we all can conclude that global warming is mostly our fault. We should feel guilty for all the effect that it has had in the atmosphere, of the animals that are dying, all the kind of life that is on Earth. So we should focus on changing this, spreading information about this, giving tips to improve our habits that can help a lot to our planet. And we should also do movements, because just as we do, big enterprises or factories create most of the world's waste. So, but for now, we have to work individually on this issue, and yes, and try to make a change with this. And that will be it. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for your thoughtful presentation. I think that this is a very sensitive topic because it really hits home. It gets to all of us because even if we want to ignore a subject as big as global warming, eventually we will not be able to do it. I think it is part of us, and as you said during your presentation, there are many things that we can do to try to help at least a little bit to this big problem. So I think that it is something very important. What you talked about, I think that the little tips and pieces of advice that you were giving to the general public are very appropriate to try to feel like we are helping in some way, and just to be more, considerate about the planet and about our species and how we are affecting the rest. Once again, thank you very much for your presentation. I think that we could all see once again the level that you guys are able to achieve in a level, in a module like upper intermediate D. I think your proficiency in English demonstrate the preparation and the hours of practice during all of these years that you guys have been in the Colombo. So once again, congratulations for your abilities to communicate your ideas, and once again, congratulations on your great presentations. Now, dear Sarah, I'm going to send a message to you in the private chat where you will be able to see all my feedback on your presentation as well as the grade that you got from it. Here it is. Thank you very much. And now we're going to continue with the next presentation on this night. This presentation will be done by Stephanie. So Stefa, please get ready, turn your camera on, turn your presentation on, and well, the stage is all yours.
Okay, teacher, thank you so much. I'm sharing my screen. I hope that it's okay.
Oh yes, it is totally fine.
Okay, teacher. Okay, good evening for everyone. My name is Stephanie Giraldo, and today I want to share a little information about mental health. I want to share that information because I think that it is a topic that take care like has a lot of importance in our lives, and maybe we don't try to speak a lot of that topic. Okay. First, what is the definition about mental health? What is the definition of mental health? Okay, mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social being. It also affects how we think, feel, and act, and it also determines how we handle stress, relations, relate with others, and make choices. Mental health is important at every stage of our lives, from childhood to adolescence and through adulthood. Over the course of our lives, we can experience any mental health illness or problem, and it can be affected by biological factors such as genes or brain chemistry, and life experience such as traumas or abuse, and family history of mental health problems. According to the World Health Organization, 1 in 4 people can experiment or suffer any type of neurological or mental disorders in some point in their life. It means that in the planet, almost 1.9 billion people who struggle with neurological or mental disorder. But what kind of neurological or mental disorders we can experience around the life? Okay, one of it is mood disorders, and it can be depression or bipolar disorders, anxiety disorders, personality disorders like bipolarity, psychotic disorders like schizophrenia, eating disorders like bulimia, or trauma-related disorders such as post-traumatic stress disorders, and finally, substance abuse disorders. Okay. When we talk about mental health problems, we also mentioned that they are so common, and when people have suffered any type of mental problem, they are not alone. It is because the mental health it's available, and the treatment can get better a patient, and some of them recover completely. Okay, how people can get better. People can get treatments from a psychological expert or professional about mental health, and in this type of science, we can get the treatment and get better in some time of our lives. But in spite of treatments available, nearly 2/3 of people never seek help from a specialist or from a professional of mental health, it is because stigma or discrimination, or also because the topic of mental health, it isn't a topic commonly mentioned in our society. And why is mental health so serious? Okay, mental health, it isn't a joke, it is an illness, it is a serious problem because it is sick. And when you suffer any type of mental health disorders, you would go to a doctor. Maybe when people suffer a headache, stomachache, or any type of illness like flu, go to a doctor. People with mental health disorders should go to a doctor because it is a serious problem and it's a illness that it's necessary to visit a doctor. And what happened with mental health around the coronavirus? Okay, around the coronavirus, we have to, in the first year of the pandemic of COVID-19, pandemic triggers increased around 25% in prevalence of anxiety and depression around the world. And also studies from the World Health Organization shows that young people are so prevalent to suffer or to have episodes of suicide, of self-harming behavior. And woman had been more severely impacted than men, because that people woman has been severely impacted than men, and also the people with pre-exciting symptoms or pre-exciting illness like asthma, cancer, and heart disease can suffer at the final mental health problems. And how to take care of our mental health. Okay, here we want to share you a little tips or a little information about how you can take care your mental health or the mental health of your environment, your close friends, or your family. First, you should to talk with others. You maybe help each other with a video call, or like send a message, text when you send a text when you feel bad, when you feel words. You can share your worries and share your frustrations with others, and maybe it can be with your close friends or your parents, or maybe with a professional if you have a therapist. And when you be active in your life, not only in your physical mood, but also in your mentally, you should get more. You should increase your mood and get better with it, because if you take in account to drink enough water and will balance meals, it will balance meals, and also work out, you can get better. And also if you stimulate in your brain with doing puzzles or color mandalas or whatever you prefer, you can maybe modify your statistics for suffer a mental health disorder. And finally, manage your media and information intake, because nowadays the news can share with us information that can affect our mental health, because it is a terrible form to talk about people, about world. And if you don't worry about the problems around the world, maybe you can get better. And a little letter for from Marisa Hargitay: healing takes time, and asking for help, it is a courageous step. Finally, I want to share you 2 more figures about mental health. Your mental health, it is a priority, your happiness is an essential, and your self-care is a necessity. And mental health is not a destination, but a process. It is about your drive, not where you're going. And I want to invite you to talk about suicide, to talk about your worries, about your frustration, because mental health, it is, like I said before, it is a illness, and you should have to take in account your mood, your frustrations, and maybe if you want, share with others, because it can be get better if you want, and if you found the help that you need. Okay, teacher, that is all.
Alrighty, once again, thank you very much for your amazing presentation. That was great. I think that was an amazing topic, because well, it is a topic that not everybody is willing to talk about, and not everybody has the courage to really address as part of their lives and as part of their self-improvement. It has been demonstrated that just like we go to a doctor or to the dentist when we have a problem with our body, we should also go to the psychologist or to a person that has a degree on that field when we feel like there is something that is not fine going on inside of us, not only in our bodies. So it is pretty good to see the advantages, the benefits that going to a mental health therapist has. So thank you very much for talking about that topic. Thank you very much for taking the time to really show how we can improve our mental health. And well, as I have been talking during all of this presentation, I think that it is amazing to see the way in which you can convey communication and you can talk, openly about your ideas, communicating with English, just using the right words, making the correct word choice, and talking with a generally natural fluency to demonstrate your ideas and to show all the improvement and all the process that you have had during all these years that you have been studying in the Colombo. So not only the presentation was amazing, you were able to talk about your ideas openly and communicate the message that you wanted to do, and you did it accordingly to the level that you're at, with correct grammar, with correct structures, and just with generally very good fluency. So once again, congratulations. That was an amazing presentation. In the chat, you will be able to find a private message with my feedback on your presentation as well as your grade. And here it goes. Thank you very much for your presentation. And now we're going to continue with the next presentation of the night. This time we're going to be hearing to Valentina Toro. I know that Valen has been having some internet issues, if I'm not mistaken. Valen, how is everything going now? Is your internet stable?
Teacher, yes, I think so, but let me try. If something happens, I will tell you immediately.
All right, thank you very much for doing that. I listen to you perfectly fine, so I think that that your internet connection is good so far. So we're going to try and go on, all right?
Yes.
So Valen, please feel ready to continue. The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, teacher. So let me just share my screen and everything will start. So, okay, let me just organize this. Okay. So, hello there. I'm Valentina. It's a pleasure to be here with you to talk about my loved profession that is teaching. I know that the old teachers are not the best in being well known, but I want to make you feel sure about how our life is being teachers. I will tell you some advices, to the new ones or our dreaming children that probably see their teachers and want to be like them. Some interesting and useful information also, and to be clear, everything is from my point of view. So I hope you enjoy my presentation. So let's go. Okay, so to start, I want to share with you something that the parent of one of my English students said to me. He just said that being teacher is not a real profession because we only took a book and dictate what is in it. He also said that the money that we receive is not fair, it's too much for our easy job. I really think that we spend a lot of time doing several things for our students, like planning our classes, reviewing material and homework that our students had. Really, we appreciate the effort the really we appreciate that time because we know the effort that we apply doing those things. Other thing that we have to talk here is the common perspective that the parents of rebellious children have, and it's to say that the problems of their kids are all fault of the teacher in the situation. I don't know how we are going to change that kind of thinking, but everything starts from here, where we can make aware the people. As second thing, I think that the current teachers are the current teachers or the conscious ones are teaching from the heart. What I mean is that we are teaching to create good citizens, good parents, good friends, good co-workers, but especially good people. I love when I'm with my students and the parents say that they are so thankful for all the subjective things that I have taught for their son or daughter, like, values and manners. So the idea is to create people that feel, that think reasonable and think in others from the bottom of their soul. At least I think that to create good people, we need good person to teach us. For example, I cannot teach good manners when mine are horrible. I need to teach also since my way of acting. I need to be honest with myself and my student selves. Never is late to learn and never is late to start teaching. Let's think in this way. You teach your son how to act when a beautiful girl come over him. Since there, you are a teacher. A teacher since the experience. Everyone teach something to other, how to act, how love yourself, how you can do whatever thing. Teacher teacher is not just the person that works with government and is in front of several people. Teacher is also your son, your parents, your friends, and every people that have something that you don't. As a conclusion, we can say that teaching is a beautiful process that everyone can assume since their position. I hope you like this presentation and it has impacted your way of thinking. I invite you to love what you do in your life. You're wasting time with it, so at least enjoy what are you doing. I invite you also to be teachers from the heart. So be it with your kids, with your family, with or friends. Just mark others people's soul. Here I have some images from my experiences where I was working. He was in a rural area that was in a college called La Cueva is a rural area, so okay. That's it. I always have been teaching since 5th grade. I mean, my students are all of 5th grade. So yeah, and these are my students from the Escuela Normal Superior de Caldas. They're 50 in 5th grade. So yes, that's it. That are just images from my real experience, my real life. And that's it, teacher. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for your amazing presentation. I think that one thing that I really liked about your presentation was to see the passion with which you talk about the profession that you love. It is so nice to see that you love what you're doing and that you really feel that passion for teaching, because that is what really tells me that you're going to be, and you already are, an amazing teacher, a person that really loves their profession and that teaches from the heart. Is just a teacher that will always do the best for their students. So thank you very much for showing that passion, for showing that love for the thing that you chose to do and to be good at. It is good to see that even though the families out there and some parents, some people don't really appreciate the profession, it's something that we still are, feel the courage to do, even though there are many obstacles on the way. So once again, thank you very much for putting your heart on it and for showing it during your presentation once again, and how I have been repeated during all this presentation. I'm really happy to see the level that you guys have achieved, the ease with which you guys are able to communicate your ideas, the structures that you use, and the general fluency with which you guys can communicate the subject that you chose. So once again, congratulations. Thank you very much for your presentation. In the chat, in the private chat, I'm going to send you a message with a grade and the feedback that I got during your presentation for you. So here it is. Nice. Now we're going to continue with the next presentation of the night, and now the following presentation will be by Laura Otero. So we will be listening to Laura right now. So Laura, thank you very much beforehand for your presentation. Please turn your presentation on, your camera on, and well, the stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, teacher. I'm going to share my screen with you. Can you see my screen?
I can see it all right.
Okay, hello everybody. Today I'm going to talk you about mental and spiritual health. This is the topic that I choose to my final presentation because for me it's something so interesting. Also because I think that people and humans are more than a body. We have a spiritual and a mental side, and also I think, in my opinion, that we are a spiritual beings. So today I want to share with you some things or stuff that has been useful in my life, that has been useful to improve the relationship with myself. So let's start. Before I start my speech, I want to ask this little question. I know that it seems like a common question, and it is, how do you feel now? I know that it can seem like a common question because always when we meet with someone, we say, hello, how are you? And the other one say, I'm pretty good, thank you, I'm fine, thank you, etc. I know, because I do the same, that we used to respond that automatically. It is not a deep answer, it is just to respond and no more. But I want that you do this exercise, that you analyze in this moment your feelings, because we don't pay attention to ourselves, and I think that it is so important. And I know that we don't used to pay attention to ourselves because we live in a crazy world. And I know that our world goes faster than ever. We have many gadgets and many distractions around. We are in a technological world and we are so busy every day. And this is the reason because I wanted to put this pic. There is a classical pic of New York City, and you can appreciate people walking fastly, people busy, and they are maybe watching their cell phones, and they seems to be in a hurry. And I have the feel that they are living like automatically, like as a robot. And in my opinion, is so sad because, as I said before, we are more than that. We are special beings. So I'm going to start sharing with you my advices, or I don't know how to tell that. The first one is going to psychotherapy. I know that there are a lot of misconceptions around going to psychotherapy because some people think that when you go to therapy is because you are crazy or because you want to kill yourself, or I don't know. But obviously, if you have these mental illnesses, you have to go to therapy. But you can go to therapy just in order to know yourself, just in order to improve your skills, or in order to know your strengths or your weaknesses. I don't know, there are more reasons. And in my opinion, we have to go to therapy at least one time in our life, because you can die without knowing you. The psychotherapy will give you some important tools for your entire life. So it is a good advice. The second one is finding a hobby, finding something that you really enjoy when you do that. Just in order to enjoy, no more. It is not about your job or your career. It is not about your family or another one. It's just about yourself. And it is important to take time off for ourselves. You can do wherever you want. I don't know. There are a lot of activities. You can painting or dancing. But I think that it depends on every person, because each person is different and each person is a bit work. So I want that you find your activity. And the last one is practicing mindfulness. I know that in these days, mindfulness it is like a buzzword, because there are a lot of people talking about mindfulness, but I think that it has been interpreted in a bad way, because people think that mindfulness is just repeating positive phrases like I can do whatever I want, I'm the best, or I am a successful person, something like that. And it is totally okay. That's right, you can do that, and is going to help you. But in my opinion, mindfulness is about finding the activities or the things that give you inner peace. As I said at the beginning, I think that we are spiritual beings. So in my opinion, we have souls and we have important mental side. So you are responsible to find the things that brings this kind of peace. For example, going to nature, or there are people also that find this kind of peace through religions or meditation, yoga. There are a lot of things, but we are responsible of that. That's all. That's are my advices. I know that I know a master, I know a guru, but these things have been useful in my life, and they are improve the relationship with myself. So I want to close my little speech with this phrase that is find the stuff which improve yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Laura. And it is very nice to see you connect these kind of presentations to your own personal life and to speak to what you think is important to you, and not only to you, but also for the people watching in classes and at home. as you said, just therapy, improving yourself, going to a psychologist and finding the way to improve that spiritual self is something that has become very important. And that even if that is tendency in this moment, because as you said, it is all buzzwords and people are talking about it because it's famous and it's trendy, it is a good trend. It is good that people are realizing that we're just not only a body, that we do not only go to a gym, but we also have to improve and exercise that, person that we have inside and our own psyche. So thank you very much for talking about that, thank you very much for sharing the importance of it and just for your pieces of advice on how we can improve our inner selves. Thank you for your presentation. As I have been repeating during all this time, it is great to see the ease, so easy. It looks so easy, the way that you communicate your ideas, that you speak using correct grammar structures. And I think we can all see that you were not reading. You didn't read at all. We could see that you were speaking from what you know, from your heart, and for what you think that you know about the topic. So it's really good to see the way in which you communicate your ideas, the grammar structures that you use, and the fluency that you have. I think it was just fantastic. In the private chat, I'm going to send you a message with my feedback on your presentation as well as the grade that you got from it. And here it is. And for now, we're going to continue with the next presentation of the night. We're going to listen to Valeria. So Vale, the stage is all yours. Feel free to share your screen and lights, cameras, and action.
Thank you, teacher. Just let me, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, the topic that I choose to talk about, it is something related with my profession. I choose to talk about the natural disasters. This is why I think the natural disasters are most of the topics that most people have to know about the country where they live, because it is something that could happen every day. So specifically, I want to talk about the natural disasters and the incidents that they have had historically in our country, and the role of the geology in them. As I mentioned it before, the natural disasters are something that could happen every day in our country. In my opinion, it is important for everyone in our country most to know, because we don't know when it's going to happen, on how we can help to each other when this happens. So the natural disasters, in a simple way, as their name says, are natural events that occurs by the processes of the earth and can cause human and material losses. Typically, also can occur some economic damage and can affect in several ways. I mean, it depends of the capacity of the population to recover of them. And also it depends of the infrastructure available, because if it is, for example, it is not the same if you are in the middle of an earthquake and if you live in a resistant building than if you live in a small house that was made on with poorly materials. So the result is not going to be the same in that situation. Colombia is a country highly susceptible to these kinds of events, having into account the geography and the topography of the territory. Historically, we have heard how those events are impacting us, how their families are losing their homes because of these tragedies. But maybe one day you have the thought that how the geology how they can help us to improve our knowledge in this field, because the geology can help us to understand and can help us to know how we can react to these situations. There are several natural disasters, but the most common natural disasters in our countries are the floods, landslides, and earthquakes. In the case of the floods, each of those events have different ways to occur and also different causes. For the floods, they can occur in specific periods of the year, maybe if it is raining a lot, and also the landslides can occur because of the rain. Only the earthquakes doesn't have incidents by the rain. In these situations, the work is not only from the government or not only from the geologists, it's also the work from all the population, because it is, we already know that this could have happened, but do we already know how to react to these situations if maybe someday we are in the middle of one of these events? This is something that I don't know if you are maybe talking or maybe thought about in the future. And talking about the natural disasters and in our country, we already know about the Armero tragedy. But do you know that in that moment, some geologists known about the tragedy that could have happened, and advised the people before it happened, the eruption of the volcano. But sadly, in that moment, in 1985, still the government doesn't take into account seriously the opinion of the geologist. And the result of that was the loss of between 23 to 25 losses of like thousands of losses. So that moment marked before and after in the history of Colombia in these kinds of events. That is why the importance to know that it is something that we all must to know. As a personal experience, in my previous job, I had the opportunity to learn how and why the landslides occurred. And in these situations, most of the times it is because the people doesn't know where to build a house, for example. And the people doesn't know if maybe this soil, it is good for my house or where I am living. So it is important to know if we are going to build a house, what type of soil has under the house. In these cases, the responsibility is first for the government, because they must know what is going on its territory. And second, it is for the population, because most of the people doesn't realize the studies that we have to do before a house or maybe a build it is going to leave maybe some people. So it is important to take this into account too. As I mentioned before, is the everyone job. And to conclude, the natural disasters in Colombia and in the world are events that keep going happen, because it's the way that the earth is telling us that it's alive. So the most important thing is the way that people can improve their knowledge in this field, and how we as a geologist can help the people to, or maybe to educate the people about these situations. The floods, landslides, and earthquakes are going to happen for several years, but it depends on us how we can react on these situations. In my opinion, the geology gives me another side about the natural disasters, and also another side about how powerful can be the earth when a natural disasters we talk. And it is good to know that I can help the people, I can educate the people how they can react to these situations. So this is something for my presentation. I don't know if maybe, do you have any questions?
Oh, thank you very much for your amazing presentation, Vale. I think that you're talking, of course, from the point of view of your job, because it's something that you have dealt with for several years, I suppose. But it's also something that really gets into our cultural and our regional background, because the place where we are at, Manizales, can be prompt to several kinds of natural disasters. And that is something that we are not really conscious about. Like, we're just next to a volcano. Of course, it's not active all the time, but we are next to a volcano. And also, we live basically in a hill. Like, everywhere you go, you will always see hills. And of course, we are in a rainforest, so it is always raining. So we not only have a semi-active volcano, but we are also living in a mountain that is always raining. So we can have earthquakes, we can have ash, we can have landslides, and it's something that is so normal to us that we don't even care about it anymore. So it is good just to remember where we are at and just to be cautious. Most of the times it is not so bad, like we don't really have these natural disasters every time or every day, but when it happens, it is horrible. So it's good to know how to react and to take all of this into account. So thank you very much for reminding us about the importance of just be wary and being cautious about the place that surrounded us. For now, I think your presentation was amazing. I think you were very fluent. I think that you communicated your ideas correctly using the right word choice. Your sentence construction was good. Your sentences and the grammar that you used was just perfect. So once again, congratulations for getting to this point where you can communicate so complex ideas with so much ease. So for now, I'm going to send you a comment in the private chat with my feedback on your presentation, as well as your grade. Once again, thank you very much for your presentation. And now we're going to continue with the next one of the night. So we're going to be hearing, we're going to be listening to Matthew. So Mateo, feel free to continue. Just share your screen with us, turn your camera on, and well, the screen and the stage is all yours.
Okay. So tell me, teacher, if you are seeing my screen.
Yes. Can you make it bigger?
Yes. So, good evening, everyone. Today, I'm going to talk about a subject that is maybe less important than the others, but is very interesting as well. So, I'm going to talk about scary movies. So, what do you think? Are scary movies good? I don't know what opinion do you have about them. Maybe for you, they can be boring or you don't even matters about them. But for me, I'll show you my opinion about them. For the people who takes movies a little bit seriously, they figure out that they are so much more than only entertainment. A good movie can bring you another perspective, even change your mind, or only telling you a good story. Yes, so let's start defining what is a good movie. This can be a little tricky because of the taste of each person. For example, what is funny for me, for the other person might not. What for the other person is too interesting for me might be boring. And that with too many others aspects. So let's say this. A good movie is that movie who, even when you left the cinema, or even after many months of saw that, you still remind, like that touch something inside you. For me, that's a good movie. So, how it works in scary movies then? In scary movies, it's a little different because you don't need to be that deep. You only have to be scared of that. But maybe the current definition of what is a really scary movie is can be not too exactly. Then, why most of scary movies are bad, at least for me? Because they are not really scary. They are only surprising. What I mean, you are not afraid about the movie. They don't even have an elaborated story, a very important plot, a character that are, I don't know, very important. They are only like the same things most of times. Most of current movies are only talking about a ghost that, I don't know, open and close doors suddenly and then control things with their minds. And it's like the same. You are not worried about this story. You are only scared about that ugly face that appears in the screen with a suddenly a noisy noise. But that's no fear. It's only surprise. So, how the real fear looks like? For me, the real fear is something that what you think that even when you are in the middle of the day around too many people still disturbs your mind. Yes. For example, if I tell you that in a couple of months there will be a worse pandemic, I'm sure that too many people will be really scared about that because we already know how bad is a worldwide pandemic, because we already know how the consequence, how bad they are. Even many of us has been touched by this problem on our first person. And like that, there are another examples. The fear of being lonely, the fear of existential aims. And for me, that is the real fear looks like. Yes, it's not only jump scare and nothing more. But we are talking about movies, so it doesn't need to be that deep. We are okay, that is only a movie. Maybe that definition of fear is so real, and it doesn't matter how we put our effort to trying to feel how the characters are in that situation, because it's impossible. For feeling it, you need to be there, and a movie is limited with that because it's only entertainment. But how they can be shoot them, they are there is a word that can explain everything right, that is uncomfortable. A good scary movie might you feel uncomfortable. I think that the movies that are closest to that definition are the war movies, because are easy to understand. For example, there is a movie called Come and See that is about the Second World War, and it's awful because you think, well, it doesn't even have a scary movie. It doesn't appear any monster or anything. It's only about talking about war, but that's something that could happen. Even right now, it's happening in the world. So, what do you think if I tell you that in a couple of months we are in a war? That would be a real fear. So, scary movies and they are only surprise. You are not worried about them. For example, if have ever a broom falling behind you that makes a noise and makes you jump scared, and it doesn't mean that you are scared about that broom. It's only the surprise. And the same is with the movies. That's the feeling that scary movies make me or break me. It's nothing else. I try to take it seriously to see what more they can share with me, but it's only that, it's surprise. So what do you think? Am I right? Or maybe for you, and scary movie is different? I'm missing some important point, or what? Because for me, that is all. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Matthew. I think you're totally right. I know you're speaking from your opinion because, when we talk about movies, everybody has their own opinion. And, well, if scary movies, if horror movies have so many people that are watching it, is because they like it. Like, I mean, they sell a lot of movies like these jump scare movies where there are only like ugly creatures just jumping around, and it is because people like that. But that is a very superficial kind of horror, because they are just scaring you, showing you a strong image out of nowhere. But like when we talk about real horror that really gets to the bone, we're talking about a well-designed kind of movie with a strong plot that really gets into your psychology and works with what happens behind the eyes. There are many kind of movies that fall in that category. I watched one recently. It's called Midsommar. Midsommar. I think it got some awards or something like that. So if you haven't watched it and you like horror, I think that would be a good place to start because it is very unconventional. Like it doesn't show you these jump scares. It is always at day. So it is never dark, and everything is just beautiful. It's with flowers. It shows flowers and people dancing around wearing white, but it is horrific. Like it really gets into horror. So just knowing how to play with that, you can find some movies that do not fall into that cringy kind of common category of showing jump scares, but really play with your mind. And I think that is what horror is about. I share your opinion of it. In terms of your presentation, thank you very much, Red. I think that you were able to communicate your ideas effectively. You could speak about your opinion and how you feel about it, using the structures that we have learned in class, using correct grammar, and just showing how all of these years of learning English really come to this moment where you can speak about a topic for 10 consecutive minutes, just showing your opinion and working on the spot and using correct grammar constructions. So once again, thank you very much for your presentation. I think it was very interesting. I'm going to send you a message in the private chat with my feedback on your presentation as well as your grade. And now we're going to continue with the presentations of the night. So in this moment, we're going to be hearing Christian. So Christian, the stage is all yours. Please share your screen and lights, camera, and action.
Thank you, teacher. Good evening, guys. Let me share my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, guys. As you know, I work with vet. I am a vet, and I work with cows like 12 years ago. And this question is something that I wanted to ask to you guys because sometimes, or most of the time, we just dedicate to it, but we don't know from where or it comes, and especially a glass of milk. I know that maybe it's not a popular topic with you, but for us, the people who live from dairy cows and livestock is important, even more nowadays where everybody is judging the cows because of environmental change and all of this about the veggie trend, which punish us hardly, but I really want to know, guys, what we do. As I mentioned it before, many families lives from waking up early in the morning and milk their cows. Even 20 liters of milk is basically with many families live from. This is a typical farm from when we work. But guys, do you know what everything that a glass of milk has? We can say that a glass of milk replaces like the 10% of the daily calories. And also milk provides vitamin D, phosphorus, which is important for the energy of day after day, vitamin B12, riboflavin, and protein. Also, I think that the milk is a natural product, especially in our country, where we milk our cows who feeds from grasses and water. So the milk is an important product for everybody, especially for kids who needs like several quantities of calcium, and this is important because it's a cheapest way of supply the worldwide hungry. Guys, no, there isn't in the world a cow who can be milked in bad condition. I mean, we always strive to provide them the best possibilities of animal health, like well-being. So we bring them lots of water, whatever they want to eat. We bring them love, and we usually try to put on them vitamins. We try to check them monthly to see what kind of diseases they could have. So we every day are trying to help them to be better. Also, with the new technology, we can follow each cow as an individual being and check for their diseases. We provide them structures like the one you can see on your left, which is a parlor, which we milk the cow, where we milk the cows and we took out of them a milk in a sensitive way. Also, we have those brushes. Those brushes provides to the cow like stability. It's also a distressing piece. And of course, we provide them high pastures for them to always keep safety. We also, when the cow get pregnant, we roll the paper of gynecologists because we try to check them that the little baby be okay, and also the cow be okay, because that cow in the future will be the supplier of daily farm. So we are, as I mentioned it before, we try to work with them monthly, checking if they are pregnant, and also trying to check them to see if they are healthy. What happened with the little calves? Like I told you before, little calves are the future of our farms. So we try all the time that they have quality milk. They get cold, and we also provide them love, lots of love, because this animal in the future can relate with humans. Food is really important also for them. So what I try to make you see with these pictures is that we are hardly striving to bring them the best commodities, the best quality of life, until they are with us, because we really need that they provide good milk and high milk. We cannot forget that behind this process of the glass of milk, there's a lot of people who works with us, like the big companies who buys us the milk, the workers, which have families that depends of this job. Something important that I wanted to mention, I couldn't find an image in English, but I'm gonna translate it. what the livestock provides to our country. We provide 7,000 to 57 millions of liters of milk per year, which means a lot of milk to supply your families. We provide almost 1 million of employees in the country, which is important, especially for the rural families. And we participate with almost the 2% of the GDP in our country, which is not a despreciable amount. Finally, guys, I invite you to don't forget that all of these products comes from the milk, your cheese, your yogurt, your butter. All of these products had a lot of job behind it. So please, guys, before you maybe think that we are cruel with our animals, I beg you to don't forget that we really love our animals and we try to do always the best for them. I think that's all. I don't know if you guys have any question.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Christian. I think that it is amazing to see the whole process that there is behind a glass of milk, as you call it. It is just great to see because, well, it is something that is very, very close to us. As you said, many people around us, many people in our country, they live from cows. They live from, milk, from milking cows every day. And with that, they can just support their families economically. And that is a story that happens all around Colombia. And not only that, but we have milk in our houses. We have cheese, we have yogurt, we have all of these butter and ingredients that we get just from milk. So it is something that not only support us like in terms of food in our houses, but also economically in the little families and also in the big kind of frame in all Colombia, because it is really sustaining 1.6% of all the economic income of one complete country. So it is just great to see how important it is, and just to take into account that there is much more just to a simple kind of glass of milk. So thank you very much for your presentation. I think it was very thoughtful, it was very important, and it shows the relevance of what of cows in our society. Once again, guys, as I have been repeating during all of this presentation, I congratulate you for your abilities to speak, to demonstrate that knowledge that you have on English, the abilities that you guys have worked and have developed during all these years of learning English. I think that you guys can just successfully communicate your ideas using correct grammar structures, using natural fluency, it's just without much hesitation. So congratulations, very good job, guys. I'm very proud of the abilities that you guys have to communicate your ideas and to talk about things that you know of. I think that all of your presentations were amazing. Everybody had a chance to present, to talk about what you guys like, to talk about what you guys know, and to do it amazingly. All of your presentations were great. I personally and legitimately am saying that I learned something new from all of your presentations. For everything that you guys said, I learned something new. I just enjoyed watching you and hearing what you guys were saying. You did an amazing job entertaining an audience, talking about something that you knew, and demonstrated the abilities that you guys have in this upper intermediate D module that is the peak of all of the learning that you guys have had in all these years in the Colombo. So once again, congratulations to the people that were watching from other classes or from home or from wherever you guys are. Thank you very much for watching these presentations. I'm going to finish the call right now, the broadcast. So thank you for taking your time to watch this presentation, and well,